Maybe.
Packs are in your ears, boy. It's what you harder the ice out the neck. It's what you harder the ice out the neck. When I'm in my zone, bitch, I get my respect. Call me Bumpy Johnson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Texas Sports World. We are your hosts. I'm Ethan. That is Isaac, and we have much to discuss today. But before we get into all of it, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's been a day working, doing the day job, getting outside in the heat, working, and now I'm here talking sports. Couldn't be better. We're out here thriving, surviving,
Good
and
life to
thriving.
live. Good life to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah. Before we get started, I want to make sure to tell everybody like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Got to get the YouTube subscribers up. We would appreciate that. Is there okay? So let's just jump into this. Today, the news broke that the Rockets re-signed Fred VanVleet to I believe it was 2-year deal with the player option in the second year, with about 50 million total, so about 25 million a year, about 20 million less than he would have made had they picked up his team option. So personally, I thought it was a great deal. What did you think?
I'm not mad about it. I don't see why you would be mad about it unless you just didn't want Fred VanVleet on the damn team. I don't see
Right.
why you'd be mad about it. But even if you didn't want him on the team, he took a $20 million pay cut, so you can't really
Yeah.
complain about him being on the team.
Yeah, apparently that's like a controversial thing to say that he took a pay cut, because apparently if you take less money when it's not your choice, it's not a pay cut, but he had to sign a contract. He had to agree. So that's a pay cut.
Yeah, for sure.
you
And,
know?
yeah, and I think he adds like some well-needed veteran presence in the locker room along with KD now. Um, and he's going to do nothing but help Reed Shepherd grow into what he should be.
Right.
So there's no negative to having him on the team, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think, I'm pretty sure that we had the discussion a few episodes ago about what we were going to do with Fred VanVleet because his number was so high. And I had mentioned a number, like if we could get it down to like 28, 29, and you were kind of telling me that was crazy and you didn't think that was going to happen. So that the fact that we got it down to 25 a year, plus the Rockets have really had a really, really good offseason so far.
Yeah.
Extending Ime Udoka, extending Steven, or re-signing / extending Steven Adams, and then obviously the blockbuster trade to get Kevin Durant. Seems like we're finally out of the quote unquote rebuild mode, and we're finally in the we're gonna try to go win the damn thing. So it's an exciting place to be in, considering we haven't been there since James Harden and Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker and Clint Capella and that Chris Paul, that whole squad when they were put together, and we're doing it with probably better players across the board.
Yeah. I think there isn't. I don't think we have the one James Harden type guy anymore, but I think we replaced that with a lot of other solid guys. And I want to bring up the point just to touch on Jalen Green.
Yeah.
One
Oh
more
yeah.
time.
Let's talk about it. Talk about him.
This whole thing is over. On Twitter and a lot of our communities and stuff like that we're in, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how mad they are that we traded away, our young star and da 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 da. Like, almost, in my opinion, a lot of people thought he was going to be this generation's James Harden or this Houston Rockets team James Harden-esque player, where it's like he's the bucket getter, he's our offensive weapon, you know, he's guaranteed to produce. But I don't think that that's true, um, and I don't agree with it either, because we have so many guys that if you use the same concept that the Jalen Green fans use on all of our other players, like, we're in a much better spot realistically. A lot of guys want to talk about we shouldn't have traded Jalen Green because what if he pops off? Because, what if next year he finally gets it together, or what if he develops good and he becomes an SGA type player? Well, what
Yeah,
about
I can see
Jabari?
that.
What about Cam? What about Reed Shepherd? What about, Alperen Şengün?
Tari Eason.
Yeah, what about Amin Thompson? What about all of these guys that we already have still? You can't win basketball games with one good player. We saw that with James Harden.
And we
So
also saw an NBA Finals where two teams were put together where you did have the MVP and SGA in Oklahoma City, but outside of that, outside of him, mainly to Indiana, you see two teams in an NBA Finals where they were just two really well put together teams.
oh,
They were from top to bottom. There was no, they were neither one of them were top heavy. You had TJ McConnell really started to become the go-to guy, especially after Tyrese Halliburton started having his calf injury, and after he goes down, he was their little energizer bunny. And rather than for a minute there when Tyrese went down with the Achilles, for a minute there they were holding it together. They were holding. It was a really good game, and I think that was a credit to how those two rosters were put together. Because you look in Indiana, they still have Pascal Siakam. They still have Miles Turner. So those are two really well put together teams that weren't super top heavy, and I think that's kind of what the Rockets are trying to do. You add in an older Kevin Durant, but and to all the people, because now that it's been a couple of days, I think you and I both have had a minute to kind of come back down to earth on the whole thing, or come up to it, if you will, and I think the argument that he's old and that maybe he doesn't perform as well as he used to, because people were saying, oh, if this was a 34-year-old Kevin Durant or a 33-year-old Kevin Durant, then it's a totally different conversation. And I get it, I understand that, but at the same time, to me, it feels like we don't need him to be 33-year-old Kevin Durant. I don't need him to go out there and score 27, 28, 29, 30 points a game. That's not what we just needed somebody to fix the glaring issues that we saw in the playoffs. And then I think he fills that role. And with the Fred extension, saving what, $20 million, that those two moves in and of themselves, one, it allows the Rockets to go out there and go find another shooter, go find a Gary Trent Jr. type of player who's still young, who can still go out there and play, a Nickeil Alexander Walker, go add these two guys, those types of guys, to really expand the roster in such a way you couldn't do it last year, because the team was young, and B, you had an inconsistent Jalen Green.
right.
So I think
And I think the whole argument is, the only negative side to the Kevin Durant trade still to this day is the fact that, yes, Jalen Green's younger, and if he could have popped and become who everybody wanted him to be, then then we have 10 plus years of this elite scoring guy. But we don't, like you said, we don't need that right now. What we need to do, and what we got, was a guy in Kevin Durant who we know, even at 37, 38, 40 years old, is still going to be able to. He's 7 feet tall, and
it's impossible to truly defend him very well.
Shooting the basketball is one of the last things to go in terms of old age in the sport of basketball. Being able to shoot, like Steph Curry can probably play for a long time because he'll always be able to shoot the ball. Even whenever he loses all of his athleticism, he can be like Klay Thompson was and just stand in the corner and just pop threes. So shooting the ball is one of the last. Now, he's not going to be fast. He never was fast. He's not going to be super bouncy and athletic and twitchy, but we don't need that. We just need somebody who can score consistently. And being 7 foot tall means you can score from the three, from the paint, and from the mid range, which is the areas that we lacked in like crazy last year, especially come playoff time.
Right.
So having that there, it does nothing, but especially if he can help guys like Jabari and kind of put him on some game and get him to go and get him, hooping the way that he should be. Then you get Kevin Durant. Once he retires, you get miniature Kevin Durant next in line.
Right. So really, in reality, you could have 7 to 8 years of elite forward play, because you're still gonna have, because I think Tari is more of the Energizer Bunny, defender type role guy, in my opinion. And if he can just get any offensive game, any of it, that's a win. That's a win. And so you have a Jabari Smith Jr. who's going to learn from he's already trained with Kevin Durant since high school. So now they're going to be around each other all the time. They're going to be playing with each other all the time. And at some point, he's going to take the mantle. He's going to take over for Kevin Durant at some point.
And another good thing about the Kevin Durant trade is this isn't as old as he is, this isn't a guy who's just looking for a team to go die at or
Right.
to ride to another ring to cement his legacy. Kevin
He
Durant's
tried that.
still hungry.
He tried that in Brooklyn when they
Right. He's
in
not here
Brooklyn
for
it fell apart.
he's not here for just a bag. He's here he really likes the core that we have. He likes Şengün. He likes Jabari. He likes the guys that we have on the roster. On top of he's willing to not take, he was shutting deals down to come to Houston. He wants to be in Houston. On
Right.
top of he's in the lab already. Like he wants to go win another ring for the team. So we're getting a hungry, old but hungry Kevin Durant. And I would say Kevin Durant probably hasn't been this excited to play basketball really in some time. So we might
Right.
get the best 37-year-old Kevin Durant that, we are getting the best version of Kevin Durant that we can get at 37 years old.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I think, and to kind of to pivot to the Fred VanVleet situation. I guess I kind of mentioned it earlier, but what this does is we're under both aprons, so we're not. I know that's still confusing, but there's so many more things we can do we can do a sign and trade with the team. When you're hard capped up there like that, there's certain things you can't do, which makes it harder for you to operate and maneuver your roster. And I think now you could go out and sign maybe a Quentin Grimes, which is kind of a Houston favorite because he played college at Houston. He ended the season really well in Dallas. Now, granted, I think he only played about 30 games or so, but he averaged over 20 points a game. You could go add a Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You can go add somebody to fill the role that you were missing in the playoffs on top of the positives in the scoring side of things and the spacing that just think about this. So you on the floor, you could have Jabari Smith, Kevin Durant, Alfred Şengün, Amen Thompson, and Fred VanVleet. Just think about the spacing that can come from that. Just adding Kevin Durant to that adds so and if Alfred Şengün can improve his shooting ability, there's just so many more offensive things that you could do that you don't have to give the ball to Amen and just say go run down that guy's throat and try to get us 2 points or a foul. Which is what the Warrior series ended up being because we just couldn't find any rhythm anywhere.
Yeah.
So
or
I
it was
think
Fred VanVleet on a heater, just like popping threes, and
popping
then
threes.
us dunking it down to Şengün. Like Şengün loved the guy to death, but like they kind of had us figured out. It was like they're gonna feed Şengün, and he's gonna do some weird kind of fadeaway floater shot that's either gonna go in or it's not. And that was kind of what we were relying on offensively because Jalen Green was a nothing burger. Realistically, like nobody else was playing really good in that series. And then Amen Thompson, like, loved the guy to death, but if he even like if his defensive abilities like diminished in any of those games by like I don't know, if he just didn't perform defensively as well as he did, we'd probably be not talking about him as a franchise, piece.
That's true. That's true. That's fair.
So, like he was a few bad games away from him not being the guy that he is right now.
That is true. And I think and Amen is another player that if he can develop some sort of offensive, like that's kind of the theme of the Rockets team.
And that's what the whole situation for me is so crazy because like especially with the Fred VanVleet thing is like we still have a good mix of vets and young guys. And the stars of this year's Rockets team, even if they're still on the roster in 3 or 4 or 5 years, might not be the main guys on this Rockets team. Like there's so many guys that if realistically we're set up in a position where in a perfect world, everybody develops the way they're supposed to, we would have a homegrown super team in Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's crazy to think about.
Right. And people were like, I saw some reactions on Twitter after the Kevin Durant thing saying that we like sold our future and like we have all this basically saying people were acting like we sold the farm for a bag of chips. You know what I mean? And another thing. Go ahead.
Time we sold the worst player. Oh, not the worst player, but like arguably like just like a mid-level guy.
Right. And honestly, and I think I was thinking about this earlier. I think Phoenix may be the perfect spot for Jalen Green to be in because he doesn't when you're playing next to Devin Booker as a guard, your job automatically becomes so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because what a lot of people's arguments for Jalen Green in the playoffs were they were blitzing him a lot, they were defending strictly him a lot where he couldn't get going. And like just pause on that real quick because if for all the Jalen Green stands out there, if he is as good as you are trying to tell us that he is, and if this is as big as a mistake as you are trying to tell us that this is, why wasn't he able to figure it out? Why wasn't he able to do something? It wasn't even like if he could just if he could have given us 15, 16, 17 points a game, that's a totally different series. It's a totally different series because I mentioned this in the previous show. Outside of the 38 point explosion that he had, he averaged he had like 9.3 points per game or something like that.
That's like coming off the bench level stats.
Right. That's basically like what Cam Whitmore probably had. Like I know he didn't play, but like that's what he would have had if
there's some games where Amin Thompson, a notoriously like not great offensive guy, ended up with more points than Jalen Green in that series, which is a problem, no matter how you cut it.
Right. And if you want to tell me, that that's what the Warriors wanted, fine. But if you're so good at basketball, if Jalen Green is so good at what he does, then why wasn't he able to do anything?
And that's a weak argument in and of itself. They played him differently. I hate to break it to you, Jalen Green is not the best player in the NBA of all time ever in the history. There's been guys, John Morant, LeBron, Curry, all like
Clay.
SGA, Clay. Like there's been tons of guys, Russ, James Harden. They had to develop a whole new style of defense for James Harden, and
they literally started guarding him from the back.
Yeah, they still figured out how to get it. He still figured out how to get 40, 50 points a game. I think at one point he was averaging almost 40 points a game for like 2 months.
He averaged like 35 a game or something like that, or something crazy over 30 for sure.
Yeah, and that's with people, and that's in regular season. So everybody's still trying shit out on how to defend him. So to sit there and say, well, they guarded him differently, that doesn't make me feel better.
Right.
Because that just shows me that you don't have the ability to adapt to what you're seeing. Right.
And if you want to say, oh, he's still young, that's great. Because what really irks me is when people say, like, as soon as it went down, everybody's like, oh, he's going to have the SGA arc where he gets traded from the Clippers and all of a sudden becomes this guy. And it's like, you can't know that. Like, there's
good. I hope he does. Like, nobody in Houston is hoping that he ends up being a bad player. We want him to be a good player. It's just, be good somewhere else. Go be great somewhere else because you can't be great here, and we don't have the time for it. We're trying to go win.
Right. And who knows? Maybe next year, Jalen Green goes out there and because, like I said, because what's going to happen is he's going to play really well next to Devin Booker, and everybody's going to be like, "Ha, I told you so." He wasn't playing with a Devin Booker. It's like apples to oranges. He had to be the go-to scorer here. He doesn't have to be that there.
That's the unfortunate part of the Jalen Green story in Houston.
I gotta go let my girlfriend in the house. Hold on. Okay. I locked her out. Keep going.
That's the unfortunate part of the Jalen Green story in the city of Houston is the fact that, could he develop into something great? Yeah, but he doesn't have a guy in front of him. Like he had to be the guy. He never got the opportunity to sit behind a really good shooting guard or play alongside an elite point guard or something like that. He was from day one our guy. So his rate of development had to be way more than what it should have been because yes, he's still a young guy, but him going to with playing next to Devin Booker, that gives him a veteran shooting guard to learn from, to kind of like, we don't have that in Houston. We were never going to have that in Houston. We weren't going to be able to get a guy for him to develop with and like learn from outside of Ime. But
I think,
and it's just unfortunate.
Right. And Jalen Green's the way he plays basketball fits next to, because Jalen Green is a downhill, get to the lane. He's not a prolific shooter. He's not really an outside threat. Now he can be. With the games where he has those holy crap games is when he shoots well. It's when he has good perimeter offense. when
And
he
I'll
doesn't
admit, he looks like one of the best players in the NBA at that point.
yeah, exactly. But you're going to get that 30 games a season, 20 games a season, maybe. Which is why now granted he did at what was like 20, 21 or 22 points a game. That's great, but so did Quentin Grimes coming off the bench in Dallas. So do these other that doesn't really people are like, "Oh, he was the team's leading scorer." He scored 21 points a game, guys.
On a not offense heavy team.
So it's not like he was out there hooping for real most of the time. Like
He was out
again,
there hooping. I'm gonna give him his flowers.
sure,
He was
okay,
out there
fair
hooping
enough.
a lot of the time. He is still super athletic, and I hope
I'm
he
saying
develops into one of the best
sure.
players in the league. But the point of the matter is, like, when you're the guy on a bad offensive team and you can't be the guy on a bad offensive team, like, it's just a problem. And, you know, we just don't have such a sour taste in our mouth about it because we pushed the series further than it should have been.
Sure.
And we played, like, as bad as we played, we hung in there. So that gave a lot of people a lot of hope. Like, man, if we just had another shot at this, maybe we could do better. But you get 1 or 2 games in a series to play like that, and then you got to figure it out and go win you a series.
Okay, so that's another great point. If he had struggled in game 1 and game 2, you know, it would have been like, Jalen, but then figures it out and goes for 20, 21, 20 and gets back to his normal self. We're not even sitting here talking about Kevin Durant. We're not even having this discussion.
He's not
But it
on
was
the
like
team.
right, exactly. There's just no life. And you know, like we've mentioned already numerous times, him playing with he could not have gone to a better because I think he's just I don't think he has the guy in him. Like I don't think he can be at least right now to be the number one scoring option on a team. He needs to feed off of somebody else. He needs to play in a system where he can get downhill. That's another problem is when you have a guy like that who needs to get downhill, you have to have a lot of spacing. And when you don't have a lot of offense around him, there's not a lot of spacing. So
That was our other problem is Şengün being in the paint all the time, especially in our 2 big system with Adams
right.
and Şengün. Like you saw it in the series with Golden State. It was like we would try to have Jalen or Amin kind of go down there, but then it was just everybody was right here. And so, like, you can't really get a shot up. And so that part I will give him grace on. But at the end of the day, like, you got to shoot the ball.
Right.
Fred VanVleet can't be our best 3-point shooter.
That can't happen, man. That cannot happen.
It's not Fred VanVleet's thing. So
thank God he found a shot in the playoffs because it
and I
probably
will
would have
say
been
that
like
my last thing on Jalen Green, and then I'm done talking about him. Jalen Green is great athlete, great player, but like you said, he can't be the guy. He doesn't have it in him. I think he does, but I think he has confidence issues, and we saw that in the Golden State Warriors series because as soon as he started playing bad and he started catching heat for it, it was like he was terrified to even like touch the ball. Like, he didn't even want the ball in his hands almost. And when he did, he dribble, and then just like kick it out to somebody else. And so it just looked like he wasn't being assertive and trying to go get buckets and like get out of that slump that he was in.
right. No, I agree. I think like we said, I wish him all the best in Phoenix. I think he's in a position where he might be able to flourish a lot more. And people are going to come back and say, haha, I told you so. But in all honesty, I think the situations are totally different. And you know, go and play next to Devin Booker is ultimately maybe it revives his confidence that we're talking about.
Hopefully,
you know, hopefully. Yeah. We wish him all the best, but we have Kevin freaking Durant now. So,
and I'm super excited. I wasn't super hyped up on it last time I was on pot. That was mainly due to a hangover, but I will say now that I'm sitting on it, happy that we have KD, super happy that we re-signed, like probably unpopular opinion. I'm so happy we re-signed Fred VanVleet. Because I didn't know who else we were going to get.
Right. Okay. So because I there's like as soon as it came out, somebody was like, "I'm not mad, just disappointed," and I'm like, "For what?" And they're like, "I wish you could have just signed could have helped us out a little bit." I was like, "Yo," because what it tells me is we weren't gonna. There was no way that we were going to pick up his $45 million team option. There was no way that was going to happen. So that in and of itself tells me he wants to be here. So those two things means he took the pay cut because he knew he wanted to be here to try to go win.
For sure.
You know, and so you gain 20 million ish, give or take a couple thousand in cap space. It opens up your non-tax player mid-level exceptions like 14.1 million or something like that. You allow yourself to get under the first apron and do some sign, or I think under the second, whatever, do sign and trades. You know, I mean, there's just so many things. For people to come out here and say, I wish he would have helped us out a little bit is mind-boggling to me, because
Yeah,
$20 million
to make?
right.
Like
Right.
$10 million a year or something? Like
That's never going to happen.
He still has a championship ring on his belt, on his resume. He damn
Right.
near was the catalyst for the whole time in Toronto. He was like the guy.
Right. You know, and I was the first to come on here and say that he wasn't good enough in the regular season last year. 14.1 points per game or whatever it was is not good enough to make $50 million or whatever, 45, whatever it was.
I just feel like that was I just feel like that was an emotional take out of you, because I don't think all, like, Fred VanVleet, he's 6 foot. You're not a very tall guy.
Sure,
He's not
sure.
Steph Curry. He's not, like, I think he offers more than just like, oh, I can get you some, like, he's not a bucket getter kind of point guard. He is a, like, commander
Facilitator.
of, yes, he's very much like, all right, I know what needs to happen. Let's get it going.
And I think that you make a good point, because I think that is worth it when you have a team that's this young.
Yes.
You know, when you have a team that's this young, and a team that because just like, guys, let's go back to before he got here, before we didn't have a legit point guard. Like, having a legit
before he got here, we looked like the worst athletic team in the whole. Like, we literally looked like an AAU basketball. That's where all the AAU memes came from. Like, because we literally looked like a bunch of guys that were all really good individually, but we just couldn't come together as a team. And then Fred VanVleet gets here. Now look at us.
Right.
So, like, you need somebody who, everybody on the team knows he's probably not our best scoring option, probably not the greatest defender, but he's the guy that, like, he is the leader of this team.
He brings such a high basketball IQ.
Yes, that he's seen so much basketball that all the knowledge he has and how to, like, manipulate the way that things are going, and how to get the ball to the correct people at the correct times is so worth $20 million. He's been a starter in the league for, like, almost a decade.
Right.
So, like, $25 million a year is worth it for that kind of experience.
Right. Because he's going to do the same thing for Reed Shepherd that KD's doing for Tari Eason. Like, we are quite literally watching this team, because all offseason, Raphael Stone and that front office was adamant that they didn't want to speed up the timeline because they really liked our young players. And I think that we're watching this team's timeline really come together. Oh, are you frozen? Or are you just sitting still? Oh, okay. We're watching this team's timeline really come together, because Reed Shepherd, if he comes out at his peak and is a 17 points per game, eight assists a game, perfect. That's all we need him to do. When you have a Jabari Smith who could be your go-to scorer, when you have a Amen Thompson who can be not a go-to scorer, but can be a play on both sides of the court. You have an Alfred Şengün who can be, if he develops an outside shot.
Dude, we have a guy that could be, the next Jokic
Right.
in Alfred Şengün. We got a guy that could be, I'm not gonna say Chris Paul, but Fred VanVleet and Reed Shepherd, the guy that could be the next KD and Jabari. And then we got other guys like that fit in that, like they fit, like, oh man, dude, dog,
right?
Like, we got dogs.
Like,
we have undeveloped, untapped potential dogs.
Right. When you go back and look at past Rockets teams, you had James Harden. There was never going to be another James Harden. No matter how hard, there was never going to be a James Harden. There was nobody that James Harden could really teach how to be James Harden because he's just a freak.
And
You
there's only
know,
one guy in the league right now that even resembles him a little bit, and that's Luka.
right? And well, you were never going to get that. So that's a generational talent. You're not going to get another James Harden. There, I mean, and there's other guys on that roster like a Trevor Ariza, a PJ Tucker, but they were so hyper specific in their jobs that you couldn't really bring in guys to emulate that because that team was built around James Harden. And as soon as James Harden leaves, there's nobody to kind of take over for that. Now you're looking at whenever Kevin Durant, let's say Kevin Durant's here 3 years, he retires a Rocket. You got Jabari. You can see the vision, right? Fred VanVleet's here for another 2-3 years. He retires, moves to the Rockets front office. Now you got Reed Shepherd coming in. You see the vision there. Steven Adams. Obviously, Alfred Sengun is better than Steven Adams, but Steven Adams can impart the true center position on Alfred Sengun, and he can and Alfred Sengun can be the offensive player that Steven Adams isn't. So you're getting a nucleus of guys that are growing together with guys already on the roster, so that when those guys end up leaving, you're not completely barren of guys that have the same skill set. Does that make sense?
Bingo. I think you hit it right on the money.
Yeah, I mean, this is because I appreciate that, but I feel like there's another angle of looking at it, because
it's essentially you've drafted so well that so we had a young core group of guys, all super good, insane potential through the roof. Well, you bring in guys. I feel like they really did a good job with bringing in guys that kind of are the better versions of the guys that we already have.
Right.
So that way we can see, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, oh, KD does this. I wouldn't have done that. So maybe I should start doing this. And then now, like, you kind of get these guys looking up to these, elite vets that you can. And it's not like, you're trying to teach some different play style or different body style kind of guy. It's like they're all very similar in the way that they look and the way that they play and the way that they do things. It's like I don't see a world where it affects anybody negatively on the roster.
Right. It's kind of like in the NFL when, like, you have a quarterback that has a team that has a running quarterback, but their backup is like a stationary. It doesn't make any. You're like, why would, like, especially, like, I'm trying to think of a specific team, because one of the teams that did it really well was the Ravens. They have Lamar. Then they had Tyler Huntley, who was the backup, and then they brought in Robert Griffin for a little bit. Like, they brought in guys that fit the mold, so that let's say whenever I just said his name, Lamar Jackson, like, he goes down, you're not bringing in Davis Mills. You got to change everything. You know what I mean? So, like, when Kevin Durant, when the Kevin Durants and the Fred VanVleets and the Steven Adams and those guys leave, you're still going to have dudes that fit the same mold. And I think you're talking about a team that's set for the next 5 to 7 years, because Alfred Sengun's extension hasn't even kicked in yet. He's not going to be not a Rocket till he's 28. By that point, I mean, like, Jabari Smith is about to get an extension. He's going to be next up. Tari Eason's about to get his extension. He's going to be.
And the good news is, like, those guys are probably going to be pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things. So, like, you really get him developed under KD. You really get him locking in, and, like, you really start to see him emulate what a young KD was doing. It's like, now we got KD for way cheaper than anybody else in the league.
Right. Exactly. And
if he doesn't end up like that, at least you got a ring 2-3 years ago with KD.
Right. Because honestly, the league next year is so wide open. Mainly because the East got decimated with injuries in the playoffs. And so a lot of outside, I mean, next year it really is a Cavaliers, Houston, and OKC. Like, those three teams are gonna really be the ones to to take over next year, I think. And Houston is doing that and not spending a ton of money at the same time. So you're talking about a team that's not spending a ton of money in a league that's wide open. And because I would argue that the Rockets matched up without Kevin Durant this year alone, matched up really well against OKC. And would have given OKC a run for their money had they beaten Golden State.
I agree. I think we just had we just have that one team that we just can't beat. But I think now we got KD now. So KD, not only does he help us, but he also brings that knowledge because he played there. So he kind of knows the mindset of the organization a little bit. And he's been around so long, bouncing around from some I can't say enough good things about what this roster. Like, we have developed probably one of the best rosters in basketball for the next foreseeable future.
I mean, because you're if you want to talk about the comparisons that we have to Oklahoma City, I would say we're probably constructed better than Oklahoma City was, and they just won an NBA title.
The crazy thing is, we were a few games away,
a few buckets
from potentially being a NBA. I don't want to say champion, but getting to I really think if we got past Golden State, we're in the damn thing for real.
Yeah,
and
I think we beat. Right, I think we we had the Grizzlies next. Is that what it was?
Dude,
or no,
it was the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
I think it was the Grizzlies.
I think it was. It was
I think it would have been OKC or
no, because we would have seen OKC.
Who did? It was OKC, I think, because they played the Warriors right after us.
No, they played no. Timberwolves is what it was, I think. Or no, I'm tripping.
Oh yeah, it was. No, it was the Timberwolves.
Yeah, because first round was So it would have been
dude, we're beating the Timberwolves. We're smacking them.
Yeah. I agree.
We're smacking them. We're sicking. I'm in on Ant, calling it a day. What's next?
Right. And then you got the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals.
Realistically, I think the Warriors beat the Timberwolves if Steph doesn't get hurt.
Probably. I mean, honestly, Steph playing against anybody, you kind of nudge the Warriors, in my opinion. Steph is. I'm not saying he's anywhere. I'm not saying he's. I mean, he's maybe LeBron-esque in his not in his what's the word?
He is the greatest at something.
Right.
Greatest shooter of all time. So it's
right.
like
his influence on a game is much like LeBron. So I
would argue he's in that conversation. Like, it's not crazy to put him in the GOAT conversation. I don't care what you say. Yeah, I still think LeBron is the GOAT, but it's like Steph Curry's not like LeBron is not a way league. Like, he's not miles and miles and miles ahead of where Steph is going to end up. Putting him and LeBron in the same conversation is not crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree. So I think, you have, so if Steph Curry plays in that series, I think you nudge the Warriors and they probably beat the Timberwolves. So, and then at that point now we're talking to how does OKC play the Warriors? I think that's probably a better series. So than the Timberwolves was.
That's what I'm saying, man. We beat. I mean, just last year with the roster we had.
That's why Rockets fans, you're watching the finals and you're like, dude, we could be here. Like, if we were a 17 or 8, because the playoffs, in the playoffs, everybody's efficiency, scoring, everything across the board goes down because the games are so much more intense, right? And you're playing 6 to 7 games in a series. So naturally the scoring goes down a little bit. The defense, all of that stuff goes down a little bit. So if you're talking about if Jalen Green could have been 16 points, if he could have been 5 points less than what he was scoring the Rockets are playing in the NBA Finals. That's my hot take. If Jalen Green got his act together in the playoffs, we're playing in an NBA Finals.
I agree. I don't disagree, and that's what I'm saying. And like we didn't get worse.
Because I think we beat in
We didn't
Indiana
get
for
worse.
sure.
Yeah, we did not get worse at all.
Right. The
So,
only way
like-
you could argue that we got worse, and it maybe is not even Jalen Green, but losing Dylan Brooks.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take, and I agree with it. That is a hot take, and I agree with that 100%. And I would say the only reason that we got worse because of Dylan Brooks is because everybody's going to put in the fact that, oh, you lose defensive, da-da-da-da-da-da. Shut up. Kevin Durant's 7 feet tall. Bow.
Right,
He's here with it. He's right here with it.
Just go. If there's ever an issue, just go have him stand under the rim and do this.
Yes. Come get you a bucket.
Come do it. I dare you.
Young blood.
Try
right
it.
Here.
Do it.
Right. And then if you really want to get crazy, have Şengün stand in front of him. Now we're both like this.
You know, what are you gonna do then? Huh? What are you gonna do about that?
Yeah,
Give me 2 big body babies in the back court, front court big bodies.
Give me 2 big bodies in the back court, baby.
You know, like I'm just like I think because and in reality, Kevin Durant, I think I said this in the last podcast, was second behind who? Only Amen Thompson in the entire NBA in defensive field goal percentage. So he's not some schlub on the defensive side of the court. He's still
fucking tall.
You can't be bad at defense and be 7 feet tall.
Up.
You just can't.
Your hand up. Like you can't shoot over him. So like, what are we really talking about?
You know, I mean, maybe you kind of you blow past him because he's losing a step, but then he just comes over the top. Like I don't know.
Like okay, yes, I will admit KD is not the greatest.
Sure, because he was the great defender.
That's just because he's lazy though, because like you can't be 7 feet tall and just be bad at defense. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So like, if he really wants to turn it on, I bet you could probably see some really good defense out of KD.
Yeah, and you know, if and his defense, I forgot what I was going to say right here. If he even plays mediocre defense, but goes out there and scores 27 points a game, which would be insane. I don't think he gets up to 27. Let's call it 25, 24.
He might have a couple heaters though. He might have a couple.
Sure. He's going to consistently get that. He's never going to have a 9-point game.
Yeah, at least 20.
At least 20.
Unless the only way he doesn't have like if he drops down to the 15, 12 mark, that's only if somebody else is going like crazy and it's just like feed the hot hand.
Right. And Amen didn't even start for most of the season until the back half of the season.
And then you throw him into and like the whole argument of it was Jalen's first playoff series, it was Amen's too. And he stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. Amen was ready to go. You know, I would even argue
he brought the energy, like him and Fred VanVleet. This is another thing. I think Amen really fed off of Fred VanVleet's and Dylan Brooks' energy. Because like those 3 guys really were like they were the energy that the team needed.
Right. I agree. I think you know, Amen getting just even better defensively because it is not a secret and it's not this is not a hot take that Amen's going to be an all NBA defensive player probably quicker than he isn't going to be. That didn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
He's going to be at some point in his career. Him and his brother are going to run the NBA defensively for years to come. And you know, and we didn't really give Dylan Brooks his flowers because I think Dylan Brooks, you know, for all the crap he got for, you know, being, you know, this villain or whatever, and you know, him and Fred, as far as I'm concerned, those are Rockets legends. I know they weren't here for that. I know Dylan Brooks wasn't here for that long. And I know Fred's not going to be here for that long, but the way that they came in and completely changed and revitalized the culture and what Rockets basketball means is needs to be recognized.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and you know what? They brought the grit back to the city. I guess is what I would say. Like they really made it to where it's like, oh, okay, like this team's got some damn hair on their chest.
You weren't just gonna come into our building and punk us, basically.
Right. Like, yeah, okay, we might be a bunch of young little kids, right? But
Right.
you're not just going to come in here and do whatever you feel like. Now, unless you're Buddy Hill, the mouth of the South, maybe you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
But
maybe. And that was another thing. I think Dylan Brooks was a very solid defender, and he had a career high 3-point percentage with us this year. So, and if Dylan Brooks is your leading 3-point shooter, now granted, again, he shot, I think it was like 40% or 39% or something from three, which is really good for a guy who's not an offensive guy at all.
that's a problem.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. So,
That is a problem. And I
you know,
did hate to see Dylan Brooks go. I get it. I get it. I get it. He's just as bad as Draymond. He's not a likable person if you're playing against him. But when he's on
yeah,
your team, you kind of like him.
yeah. I mean, you kind of whenever like him getting into it with Draymond and getting all making sure that he was in their jerseys, like you
Even if
got
he
to
got like the thing I love so much about Dylan Brooks is that he didn't care. Like you
right.
knew Dylan Brooks was gonna get a bucket scored on him, and he was gonna at least at one point in the game he's gonna look like a plumb fool. He
Yeah.
didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
He
he
was out
didn't
there.
care. He was
He was
he was
out.
gonna
He was gonna do it again.
right.
You was gonna hit him with a little crossover, bop bop, drop him to the floor, and what?
He's
He's
coming
in your
right back.
face. Yeah, he's in your face again. Same energy. He's keeping the same energy all game long. Doesn't matter.
Right. Right. And that's got to be annoying as an offensive player. You're like, "Oh yeah, I got him now. I got him now. I just did this that." And then you turn around, he's right there. Like
Yeah, you're like,
that's
dude,
got to be annoying. You're like, "God,
you're
can you
not
just
gonna shut him up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, like I said, we got to give him his flowers, got to give him his respect because he came into the city, he came into a team that was completely decimated, completely going nowhere, and really brought in a new energy, a new culture, and taught Amin the ropes. I think Amin owes a lot of his. He was always a good defender, but he owes a lot of his defensive acumen now to playing with Dylan Brooks.
I agree. My question is, who's the Energizer Bunny for the team now? Who is that like spark that because like we gotta have a like I know Amin is a chippy guy. He's called the evil twin for a reason, but I feel like he's one of those people that like he can start it, but he needs somebody else to kind of feed off of that with them.
That's a good question. Who's maybe we'll come here and we'll clip this. Who do you think is going to be the new Dylan Brooks / Energizer Bunny for the Houston Rockets this year? Because that role didn't get filled during this trade. That role hasn't been filled yet.
And it's not necessarily an important role that needs to be like, but it is a helpful, sneakily helpful role. You need somebody out there that's like just a menace. That's like in your mouth all the time.
Right.
Talking
you need You need a Patrick Beverly.
Yes. That's
like,
so like it's such an underrated.
I love Patrick Beverly so much. Like
Yeah.
that is like I can remember like when him and like when he was here with James and like I can remember so many like that was it the series against the Warriors where he was like going at it with Steph Curry. Steph Curry, like just like I remember there was one time like he tipped a pass or stole the ball or something and got up on the stanchion was like going like you know what I mean? Like there's just an energy that brings to the building as fans, You have a guy like that.
You need to get the fans into it too.
Right.
You get Toyota Center rocking. It's like, holy shit. I would argue Toyota Center is not like an easy place to play basketball at when the fans are really into it.
Yeah. Like, go ask Steph Curry what it was like playing against James Harden in the Toyota Center. I guarantee you he has some stuff to say about that because because Houston, the city of Houston loves basketball. Like, they love the Rockets. They want to see a good Rockets team. And that's why, when James Harden was there, it was must-watch TV, and I think we're finally getting back to that point, but not because, and it's not even because of Kevin Durant. That'll help. Having Kevin Durant will help for sure. But I think you have Amin Thompson, you have Jabbar, you have we can go through the list over and over and over again. You have these guys that people want to come watch as well. They want to come see an Amin. They want to come see a Jabbar, especially now that Jabbar we talk a lot about him. He's got he's got to get up there now. I don't know how to word it, but he's got to get better than he was last year.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
And if he can fill those shoes, if he can And maybe Tari Eason's that guy. Maybe Tari Eason is the Energizer Bunny, is the guy who just comes in and does crazy stuff. I don't know. I haven't seen it out of him. I don't know if that's in him, but maybe because he's kind of he looks like a newborn deer a lot of times, So like,
well, you know what? Maybe Amen, now that Dylan Brooks is gone, can be that lead guy, and maybe there's somebody on that roster that's like just waiting to, be that. Like, what if somebody just needs something to feed off of, and Amen can be that guy? What if we trade for a Sore Thompson?
I wish. That would be crazy.
Both
And
twins.
speaking of possible moves, I don't know if Raphael Stone has put on a masterclass this offseason on how to not spend a lot of money, put together a good team, and go out and get the guy your head coach wants. Because it was no secret that Ime wanted Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So I think there's one more move left.
At least
one more major move left that's gonna show everybody that we're not here to play no more. We're not here to try to go win 50 games. We're trying to go. We're trying to go do the damn thing. And that's super exciting as a fan because what do we win, like 17 games, 20 games? Like, do you remember Steven Silas? Do you remember the Steven?
Yes. I just want to think, like, it's so funny because the Houston Rockets go from that 17 win, 20 win right after James Harden, right?
Yeah.
And the Houston Texans did the 2-10 or the 3 and
whatever.
Yeah.
The trajectories
right after Deshaun Watson. Both of those teams almost did the whole thing. Both teams, crazy shit happened. Roster got purged, started back from nothing. And now at the same time, they're both gaining traction at the same. Like, they're so similar teams. Yeah. Like,
could you imagine? Like,
we're so good in Houston and the Texans and in the Rockets.
Could you imagine? Oh my God! Could you imagine if they both did it in like within the same year or two?
I think the Houston of City would literally explode.
Like, it would be insane. It would be insane.
If we go out there and win a Super Bowl and a NBA championship all in the same year, dude.
Oh my, dude,
it would be nuts. It would be nuts for sure.
It would be insane. It would be super crazy. I hadn't really put it together that and that's not even a crazy thing to say. Like, that's a legitimate possibility. It's not like one team is, you can hype up and think about it. The Texans could go do it. Like, they have the roster and defense and offensive weapons now to go do it. There's question marks we could talk about, but
if we can just get healthy offensively in Houston, or just stay healthy as a team in Houston, boy, watch out.
I think, yeah, I don't know, man. We might be entering like the golden age of major Houston. Like, you have the Astros. The Astros are inevitable. The Astros are still winning. Like, last night, I think it was Cooper Hummel hits a walk-off, or not a walk-off, but hits a home run after the Astros were getting no hit through 7 innings, and they win 1-0. Like, they just find ways to win. And you're talking about the 3 major sports really starting to ramp up and be something. Like, the Astros have carried the city of Houston for years, and now
I feel like, man, people are so ready. I think football goes first, in my opinion, in terms of, like, man, people want to see Houston win a Super Bowl so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's crazy because, like, the attendance rates for the NFL games have kind of dropped, but they're getting back to it. And I'm willing to bet, man, if we make it past the second round of playoffs, everybody will come out of the woodworks and be a Houston. Like, all Houstonians would be Houston Texans fans.
Well, from the Texans perspective, the way that whole Deshaun Watson thing went down, there was kind of this sense of, at least from my perspective as a fan, y'all got to earn my fandom back. Like y'all did a lot of things. Now, obviously, Deshaun Watson did his own too many things, and but ultimately they had to earn it back, and I think they've done a good job of that. They went out, they get the 2 and 3 pick, they get Will Anderson, they get CJ, Nico starts to go off, they go and get Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb comes in, they go and trade for CJ Gardner Johnson. They do all these things that you're like, yo, so you're telling me you want to win. So you're telling me you want to win. Ain't that a bitch? Wow. Who would have thought?
I think a lot of Houstonians have like a fear of it because, like, man, we had it good back in the day when Deshaun Watson was here and JJ, and we had D Hop, and we had all the boys,
and then you had Bill O'Brien blow the whole thing up for no reason.
I have never seen the city of Houston that excited to watch football games in my life, and then we just completely ruined it, dismantled the whole team, leveled every bit of momentum that we had, and it was just like, dude. And then so like now it's like, okay, they're showing you like this is different. Even if we don't go out there and win, we're not gonna we're not gonna do that. We might not win at all, but we're not gonna do that.
Right. We might not win at all, but we're not gonna only win 2 games either.
Right. We're not gonna trade away CJ Stroud and Will Anderson and Nico Collins for fucking
a bag of chips in a fax machine,
I don't know. For Fred Warner right now.
Literally.
Not Fred Warner, or Khalil Mack right now.
Oh yeah, right. Like basically like you remember we really traded, like I still think about this. We really traded DeAndre Hopkins
in the NFL. I don't care. He was the best receiver in the NFL.
For David Johnson. Like, what are we really?
Yeah, I think like a 5th rounder.
And we gave them a pick too, I'm pretty sure.
Dude.
Oh, I'll get pissed. I'll get pissed right now. I'll get real pissed.
I just don't get. Like, I wish so badly to be in the room when that trade. Like, who the
do you
allowed that to happen? I just want to know what Bill O'Brien was like, because I can't imagine Arizona was the only team that he called. They just couldn't have been.
Arizona was like, you want to do what? Hold on.
Like, you didn't shop him around. You didn't want to get 6 first-round picks or some shit like that.
you wanted to get Dave. They were like, here's Bill O'Brien. Hey, thinking about DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and a 5th. What do you think about that? I'll call it in. Click. That's how it went.
Literally. It was a no-brainer. Like, it just didn't make sense, bro.
Granted, he didn't. DeAndre Hopkins didn't go in and didn't go off and do very much, and he's kind of been on the downfall since then. But regardless, I would argue that he didn't want to. I would argue he didn't want to leave here, and if he was still here, he would have had an Andre Johnson type of career here.
Because I would also argue like the decline that he's been on. Like, he was in his prime when he went to Arizona, and then he gets traded from Deshaun Watson being his quarterback to Kyler Murray, which
wasn't Kyler hurt?
Yeah,
or get hurt?
During that first season, which he was playing pretty good in. So, but like I'm just saying, the level, it's levels to it. Like, Deshaun Watson was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at that time,
right? And
then, like, he goes there. Of course, his production is going to drop. It's a whole new offensive system. Doesn't know anybody. His quarterback's 3 feet tall. Like, Kyler Murray, I don't care. Kyler Murray's not that good. For as long as he's been in the league,
he's not a very good NFL quarterback. I agree.
He's just not that good. He's okay.
He was a fantastic college quarterback, but not in the NFL.
He's a starter, but he's not a NFL quarterback.
He's not Josh Allen. He's not.
I'd say he probably isn't even top 15. Top
right now. Yeah, I would probably agree. I
don't think he ever was. So you're not gonna get great quarterback play when you go to Arizona. And then what are you supposed to do? I don't even know who he went to after that.
He's been Baltimore. He's in Baltimore now. I think he could play.
He was in Tennessee for a little bit.
Tennessee,
Kansas City, right. Now Baltimore.
Let's see. I can't because he's been to so many different. Let's see. I can't because I want to get this right. Yeah, Houston, Arizona, Tennessee, Kansas City.
Yeah. Now in Baltimore.
I mean, 13,000 receiving yards. I mean, oh man. In Houston alone, outside he had over 1,000, over or right at 1,000 yards every single season he was here, and you traded him for David freaking Johnson. I will never forgive Bill O'Brien for that. I will never forgive Bill O'Brien for how he dirty.
I hope Boston College or whatever. You know what's even crazier?
Yeah, get
You
into
can
it.
say that. You can say that. But here's the thing that really pisses me off about. I'll get into that in a second, but just hold on. I had to watch Bill O'Brien ruin my favorite team in Houston and then come coach the offense at my favorite college football team.
I forgot about that.
So there were so many levels. Like, I would just be like, dude, Nick Saban really hired? Like, boy, I ain't never been that hot. When I saw that butt chin ass boy on my face, dude, oh my God. Now let's talk about Boston College. Specifically, Boston College transfer, Thomas Castellanos.
who's now at Florida State. But we can talk about
Alabama plays Florida State week 1. And that this isn't an Alabama propaganda situation, but this is a Thomas Castellanos situation. Because not only did he shit talk Bama, which already is like, okay, fine, I guess I get it. If you're somebody that's beaten Bama, like Diego Pavia, still pissed off at him, but at least he earned that right. Buddy, you got benched in Boston College. And then you want to come on here saying Nick Saban's not here to save you. Thomas Castellanos says Nick Saban's not here to save you, and I don't think they can I just don't think they can handle me. Hey, they had to practice against Jalen Milroe every day. Like, you're not better than Jalen Milroe.
Dude,
and Jalen Milroe wasn't good.
Right.
And you're not better than him.
You're on your 3rd team in 4 years. Okay. You've never in your entire career passed for more than 2,300 yards. You've never in your entire career thrown for more than 19 touchdowns. In one of those years, you went 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Let's not in your best statistical year in 2023, you went for 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Granted, I'll give you credit. You ran for 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. But in the next year, you didn't even get to 200 yards rushing or over 1,400 yards passing. Let's not act like, and then for him to come out there and be like, I ran the ACC, sir. Excuse me.
I wish we had a boom button. I wish we had a something like that.
Like, it doesn't make it. I wish that we should add a boom button. I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna find a boom button, load it up in here so we can add one next time because
that's like, you don't like. I get it. I saw Josh Pates talking about this, and he had a point that I really did agree with. Your team went 2-10 last year. Bad year for Florida State. I get it. I think, Josh Pates kind of brought up the thing where he was like, well, maybe, I get where he's coming from. Like, somebody's got to build that confidence. He's putting the team in a position where it's like, we're either going to look worse, like we're going to look stupider than we did last year, or we're going to figure it out and we're going to get this ball rolling. I get that part. Somebody's got to be that guy who's going to speak for the team and kind of like be confident in yourself. You're an athlete. I get it. But dog, relax a little. Don't call out Bama. Call out somebody else. Call somebody else out that like, all right, I'll probably beat them. Because now the last thing you want to do, and this is another bad mistake by him, Bama's already pissed from last year.
Yeah, you want to add your team to that list, sir? Are you sure?
They're already on revenge stuff from last year. They got teams that they're headhunting, and you're gonna be the first one on the list. Are you? Why would you do that to yourself?
It's so dumb.
And you're already a double-digit 2-touchdown dog going in, and Bama's coming to you. You're gonna Alabama. I get it. Probably not as good as they've always been. On the decline, I guess, if some people want to say that, but I don't think so. But they're not worse than they were last year.
No, yeah,
and they got something to play for this year. And even Kalen DeBoer got his job to play. Kalen DeBoer has his job on the line damn near this year. Man, bad decision from Castellanos.
Bad, yeah, just
bad.
I mean, if you want to come from the angle that he's got to build the team's confidence up and this, that, and the third, fine. Whatever. I'll let it slide. But like, don't say that to that team, man. Like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. And he's
then
gonna.
It's like, okay, well, what if they do win? Okay. Oh, I'll give you what if they do win. I'm not buying it, but if they do win, guess what? You just painted a bigger target on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you could have easily probably went through this and been real humble, beat Bama, and people would have been like,
if you're humble and go beat Bama, you get a lot of new fans because people are like, I like what he did. He didn't talk it. He didn't say nothing. He just went in, was about his business, and then went out there and beat.
And then people are like, subconsciously, they're like, oh, is Florida State like that? The teams you're playing is like, oh, is Florida? Are they kind of like that? Now you go beat Bama, and I fear the narrative will switch if y'all beat Bama. Not to is Florida State that good, but is Alabama that bad?
That's exactly what's going to happen. 100%. That's 100% what's going to happen. Yeah.
Because you brought it to like, people aren't going to say that and be like, oh, he called his shot. They're going to be like, oh, he knew something that nobody else knew, and that Bama was just going to suck this year.
Right.
Good on him, I guess. But I feel like if you were just humble and then went out there and beat Bama, like Pavia last year, everybody was a big Pavia fan for about 2 weeks. And then he kept going and kept talking about everybody else.
People were like, will you shut up?
Yeah. And then it was like, all right, brother, we get it.
Yeah. Diego Pavia, I was a big fan of yours. And then you started talking too much. So it's gonna be pretty much how I feel about it. Honestly, if you're gonna be a good player, like not to switch it to Arch Manning or anything, but I would argue that Arch Manning has more of a reason to talk his ish than Thomas Castellanos does, and yet Arch Manning is like, I haven't been that good. I have to earn it. I don't want any of this attention. He's coming from the family, the football family of the world. And he was the number one recruit in the country, playing on a good Texas team. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, he has all the reason. I'm not saying it'd be warranted because I think, but point being is he has all the reason to talk his ish, not Thomas Castellanos or Diego Pavia.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I would agree.
Well, we've go ahead.
Oh yeah, we did kind of go a little too over. So
no, not even over. We've like rabbit holed our way. We've rabbit holed our way into college football, which is cool. But
yeah, I'm not mad about it. But you know what? I don't got nothing else to say. I do want to talk about college football more on the next one though. So
yeah, we are. Now that the NBA draft is over, that most of the NBA news is kind of done with for winding down for a little bit. I need to do mine. I don't want to hear it from you, Peanut Gallery. But I'm gonna be coming out with a Ohio State breakdown. We're gonna be trying to do main kind of the bigger teams in the country. I think we're gonna do Ohio State, Penn State. Isaac's gonna do Texas because he doesn't want me to. And just teams like that. We're gonna get into some Power 5 teams, or not. Not the other G4 teams.
Just by the way, Ethan is already like a week late on his breakdown. But
yeah, I am. I have the notes. But
we will digress. And as soon as he gets his out, I'll get mine out. Go look at my Alabama breakdown.
Yeah.
Which I kind of want to redo, but I'm not going to because I don't want to keep talking about Bama too much because I don't want y'all to call me biased, even though I am. But go check that out for your boy. And then check his out. And then check mine Texas breakdown out.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff coming out. We're going to do a lot of more stuff. Shane was able to make it today. He's got to be up about 5 a.m. tomorrow. He works in the military. So, but yeah, we'll be back here on, I'm going to try to get the video out tomorrow. We're going to try to stagger it to where there's a video on our off days and the pod on the on days. So yeah, y'all be on the lookout. I appreciate you for making it this far. We had a good time today. You had a good time today, dude?
I did. I actually did have a really good time today.
Cool.
Better than the last pod.
Yeah, he was not hungover this time. Well, y'all have a great rest of y'all's week, great rest of y'all's evening. We'll see y'all on Friday. And like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. We'll see you on YouTube. We'll see you on TikTok, Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on all the socials. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
I ain't with that beefing on the net. Tell me what's next. Tell me what's next. I can't listen to the hype. Wanna know that you've been mixed with lies. Love you like your favorite cocktail.